Hey y'all, it is February the 14th. It is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. I appreciate everybody. We're going to talk about it on the other side, but I brought y'all some of that good stuff. So, as usual, of course, you're checking out the recording. You could skip it, but I suggest that you don't skip it. We're going to set the vibes. And I brought the goods just like I said I was going to bring them last week, or not last week, but the last broadcast. All right. Time is a blur for me. But I was talking about this young man, and I wasn't able to play any of his music. But without further ado, I believe it's going to rock your socks. I'm going to talk with you about it on the other side. And I appreciate y'all. Happy Valentine's Day, y'all.
One, two, three, four, let's go!
Yeah, I gotta say, this little boy is spitting hot fire, right? I don't know if anybody, if you could just recognize it out there, but quite obviously some hot fire coming from Harry McLaughlin, a young man who I'd comment, like I said, on the last broadcast, I commented months ago. I don't hardly remember. I barely remember. And then he got back to me and said, hey, check this out. I got some of that new stuff. I don't know if you appreciate it out there. Shout out because I see you up in the building. Shout out to you out there. I don't know if you get down like that, but that's how we're getting down at the beginning of this here broadcast. And it's actually so good, but it was a little bit short. It was a little bit short, so it's for this reason that I just want to give a little bit of a taste of the next track. Just get a taste, all right? Before we get on our way, we got so much to talk about. I'm looking at a list of things right now. All sort of news items. So many news items that we're definitely not going to get to all of them, all right? Power packed, and we got screenshots. We might go through a news blitz, all right? But just to start talking about this guy, I mean, like, Harry McLaughlin, I mean, not to dog on Aaron Carter, necessarily. We're not here to do that, but it's as though it's like you had an Aaron Carter. Imagine an Aaron Carter who had talent, who could play the guitar, who wasn't afraid to just get out there and let it all hang out. All right, that's what we got right here. And we're going to check out Brains real quick from Harry McLaughlin, all right? And then we're going to get on the way with the broadcast. I appreciate you. Happy Valentine's. start it all over. Oh, I messed it up. My bad. My finger slipped. What the heck? Alright, but as you could tell, that was hot fire. Alright. I don't have to show you no more, but you can go check it out right now. If you go simply to, what's it, bandcamp.com? Bandcamp.com. You type in Harry McLaughlin, all right? And you can check out all the brains. I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. He's got some abstract ideas and stuff, man. It's like he's writing his own songs. I wonder, I got to talk to him about it a little bit because just outstanding, all right? It's kind of eerie. I want to make a prediction right now or prophesy. I want to prophesy some stuff to y'all. Man, you know, the golden age of music has yet to come. Right, and that's what some people don't yet realize, right? And it might only be a side note in the whole scheme of things, but the golden age of music has not come yet, all right? And I think we're seeing the budding future. And I'm not just talking about Harry McLaughlin. You know what I'm saying? I have plenty of reason to believe that the golden age of music has not yet. It's about to. It's about to reach an autistic fever pitch, all right? Here to tell y'all. Okay, so we're about to just dive into some stuff, and feel free to, you know what I'm saying, let me know. Because like I said, we don't even have time to get to all the stuff that I'm looking at right now. All right, so I do want to hear from y'all where you're at, what you're thinking about, what's on your mind, what is the current events happening in and around your location, your general location at that. If you don't want to like give out your specific location, I can understand that. But, you know, I do want to know. So go ahead and holler at me about that. Meanwhile, I just want to say that, you know, the music thing. And then secondly, it is Valentine's Day. I gotta admit to you, like, I hear things about history, and sometimes it's like so much to know about history that, you know, people, we can't know everything. And so, just bring up Valentine's Day, you know, I heard an interesting story about Valentine. Of course, that'd be Saint Valentine. And of course, that's why the holiday, I guess, was founded, you would imagine. And I heard a story about him, and it's a simple story. I don't know if it was fake news. I couldn't say, but I just heard it earlier today. And I thought I would relay it to y'all if y'all never heard it. And it goes something like during the Roman Empire, and I could be messing this all up, and it could be all fake news, but something about the Roman Empire, and this one king, he was like, hey, nobody get married no more, and he outlawed getting married. He outlawed getting married because he said, you know, we're about to go to war. We're going to war all over the place. We're conquering all these lands. Freak getting married because it's going to be a conflict of interest, man. Y'all really need to just shut the hell up and do what I want you to do and go out and get raped and pillaged maybe. I'm not sure what you do. But you don't get married. He outlawed that, right? And this is how the story goes. And meanwhile, like behind the scenes, Saint Valentine was like, fudge that. He's like, I believe in God, boy. You know, we need to get married. That way we can have families. We can have strong families. And that way we can build up the nation. Without strong families, the nation is going to crumble. It's what, according to this guy. So he was like, I'm going to marry people on the low because they need to get married. They need to have strong families for their babies and stuff like that. It's ridiculous outlawing marriage and stuff. That's how the story goes. And you know, he probably wound up getting killed or something. I'm not sure how Valentine went out, but he, you know, he was a saint eventually. And there's a lot to be said about saints, and we could dedicate all sort of time to just that. I'm looking around and I realize that I don't have water. It's right in front of me. I'm gonna go get it because I'm thirsty. All right, y'all, we could talk at no end about that, to be sure, but we don't want to get sidetracked necessarily. Like I said, shout out to the people up in the building. That's good. Shout out to the people up in the building. I'm looking at a whole list of things that we could very well go through tonight, and I think it'll be crucial. But also, I don't know what order we would put it in, not necessarily, right? Kind of going willy-nilly in that sense, and in that sense, it seems to be a theme, a running theme of this here broadcast, and I don't know if anybody else enjoys it. I don't know that I enjoy it, but sometimes we go random and stuff. We don't know what's more important. These things, these wild things that we talk about, we're not sure what's so important. So that being said, we do have screenshots and stuff, and it kind of gets us into the rhythm of what the heck it is we're about to start talking about. So that being said, some wild stuff. Obviously, I'm here to bring you the wild stuff. The El Paso Walmart shooting suspect charged with federal hate crimes. All right, that's kind of recent. That wasn't too long ago. It's from Al Jazeera. So I didn't even realize that still existed. But Al Jazeera's on the scene, and they're talking about that guy. I don't know what's so interesting about it. His face is pretty dang interesting. I would like to hear a mumbling word. You know what I'm saying? That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if we're gonna get to. I don't know. Maybe we have already heard mumbling words. It's hard to keep up with all these different ones, but of course, a lot of people came out and said this whole El Paso thing was kind of ridiculous. I don't know if you even remember it because it's just like it's significant to me. It's significant to a lot of people. Significant. It's significant to you, I assume, but a lot of people might not even remember it. The El Paso shooting. Well, what was the fake news? What was the official narrative they were giving? This young man right here. This young man. He came through and he's like, hey, man, it's too many Mexicans. It's all sort of Mexicans. They're invading the U.S. and I gotta go shoot them at the Walmart in El Paso. He didn't live anywhere near El Paso. But he thought he would drive to El Paso. Why? Because that's where you find all the Mexicans. That doesn't make any sense. None of the story made any sense. Like, I don't know. I mean, he could be a crazy wackadoodle guy, but I would like to hear a mumbling word. But none of it made any sense because, like, you're trying to find Mexicans or you're trying to find brown people, I guess. Why would you go to El Paso? You can go to pretty much at least half of Texas, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Texas is a big place. Why would you go to El Paso necessarily? That all sounded crazy. And it probably didn't add up. Of course, behind the scenes, we were hearing all sorts of stuff because the main narrative didn't make no sense. Why would he be wearing ear protection, by the way, if you're going into a shoot 'em up and you plan to die at the end? Why are you wearing ear protection? That doesn't make sense. Eye protection? Why? But all right, and so he does all that. It doesn't make any sense, and of course, there's not any sort of evidence that and for this particular, I'm not an expert in this El Paso thing, but there wasn't really any sort of evidence of him shooting up anybody. I mean, we saw a picture of him, right? That still frame when he enters Walmart. Oh, you got him entering a Walmart. And then you hear all sort of BS testimonial and stuff, and you hear some people saying, "Oh, you know what? There was like," you hear some people who honestly seem genuine, who are like, "Dude, I thought I saw 3 people, and I saw big, tall, white guys, and like, and they were all dressed in black. I saw 3 people shooting and stuff." So you heard all that mess. You saw all the porta potties and stuff outside the Walmart. You saw all sort of stuff that would lead you to thinking about tomfoolery. I'm sure a lot of people who did and do remember the El Paso deal. It was that sort of thing. Didn't make any sense. Didn't make any sense. And then behind the scenes, I don't know what's right or wrong. I don't know what's up or down, but I heard that he's not exactly the Trump supporter that he was made out to be, or the quote Trump supporter. I did air quotes when I said that, but he's not just the Trump supporter. Hating all Mexicans doesn't make any sense. Because I guarantee you, there's brown people here, man. More than half of the people who I talk to on a daily basis are brown, right? You don't have to go far to see some. And what the hell is going? And then I heard, he ain't a Trump supporter. That's just a part of the main narrative. Dude. He's all up on that certain kind of political persuasion that we already know. Anyways, way too many details. So I don't want to get caught up on that. That was just a simple screenshot. That was a little taste. But one kind of an interesting thing is related, fairly recent, happened up in Thailand. And my peoples up in Cambodia was talking to me about it. And they're saying, man, because that was one of the first things they brought up. So it's on people's minds over there in Asia, to be sure. Right? 21 dead. Dang, 21 dead. 31 hurt. So that's on top of the 21. You're talking about 52 people at least. And then all the sort of people who are traumatized. Not only 52 people who are shot and killed, but probably hundreds of people around them witnessing to all this. Getting all that PTSD and stuff. It's very traumatic. That sounds amazing. Wild. I kind of looked into it, but I haven't looked into it much. First thing that I looked into, just on a preliminary basis, was the gun laws in Thailand. And so, for anybody ready to fire at the hip, no, well, gun laws are not so bad in Thailand. In fact, if I understand correctly, there are more guns in Thailand than typically in any typical Asian country by far, which isn't to say anywhere near America, not at all. But they do have guns and stuff like that. I don't know what to say about this. It's just a screenshot, and I don't have the details, but maybe somebody up in the comment section does. And we're gonna look into it, but give me some time and stuff because there's so much going on. I wonder what's behind that, and that seems crazy, very crazy. That's Desiree Ripple. That's a person who we wanted to talk about. Check out the eyes. Check out the eyes, and actually, um, the screen that you're seeing, it really doesn't do it any service necessarily because it is high definition or whatever, and you can see it crystal clear. But it's like when you're in person and those eyes hit you, right? It is kind of something else, like a tractor beam, right? That's not to say, oh yeah, this lady, check out this lady. It's just say, it's a lady who we're gonna talk about. I don't think tonight, because I don't think we have enough time. We got so much this power packed broadcast, but I do want to talk about this lady just because she's a public figure. Actually, it's a lady who I knew back up in Big Spring, and there's a lot to be said about this lady. Very interesting lady. Very interesting. And I think probably inspiring to the community. I want to talk about that probably another time, but look forward to that because I do mean to talk about that. I have been thinking about that. Um, but okay, and we heard from Harry Styles. I have been thinking about that, but that's one of those side notes. It's really not that important on a world scale. Just so we're gonna see if we can go through it. Something of a news blitz, y'all. All right, as quick as we can. But we do have to elaborate a little bit because, see, man shatters Black History Month mural and possible hate crime, and that's the headline, right? All right, and that's the man who did it. Okay, hold on, I'm gonna read it for you again. Man shatters Black History Month mural and possible hate crime, according to the cops, and this is the guy who did it. According to them, and they put him on blast. Allegedly, that's the guy who did it. Does that make any sense? No, it doesn't. But thank you, New York Post. Appreciate you. Neighbors say calls about vagrant problems are falling on deaf ears. Just real quick. Okay, nobody's hating on anybody at all. I don't have hate on this side. I don't know about on your side, but it's no hate over here. I guess I'll say it a million times. But at the same time, for anybody, to include homeless people, not to hate on homeless people, not to dog on homeless people. I wish they weren't homeless, all right? I wish there was a way to do that. And in fact, people are 3D printing houses, dude. People, we live in 2020. We could do all sorts of things to combat homelessness, right? But, and I wish we would do it. But you don't want homeless people around you, and that much I can guarantee you. Some people are like of the hippie mindset or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, why don't you just let them live?" I let them live, dude. They can do whatever they want to do. I don't bother them. Thing is, you don't want them out front of where you live at or where you do business at. You really don't want that. Nobody should want that. Nobody should want it. We should want to reduce homelessness instead. All right. So, but that's what I tell some people, and some people are the hippie mindset. Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like the real world's gonna come crashing out on your head very soon about these homeless people. That it's like, oh, you just let them live. Yeah, let them live right in front of your damn place, and then you might start having problems. And some people already are having problems. All right, as you might could imagine, Ernest Salinas. He's probably the most KKK person you ever heard of just because he doesn't want homeless people out in front of where he lives, dude. It's like a problem for him, right? He's KKK Donald Trump all the way. Ernest Salinas. Gotta call him out. All right, I don't know. Oh, this is kind of interesting. I don't want to dox anybody, but this guy's kind of interesting. Blas M. Herrera. I was just talking to my dad the other day, and he's telling me about, these people who he's affiliated with who are related to this person, right? And so they can trace their ancestry back this person. And apparently this person and I had to look into it, but he was known as the Paul Revere of the Alamo. If you remember who Paul Revere is, the guy riding on the horse, like, warning everybody, "Hey, the British is coming." He was that version in the Alamo, allegedly. I had to look that up. It seems as though he was. And that's pretty dang interesting. The Alamo is pretty dang interesting. In fact, the Alamo happened for a reason, very good reason, just so that y'all know. And I'm sure everybody already knows out there, but I want to check this out. San Antonio man confesses to killing man over weed money, fatally shooting this and that and the other. I actually read the article. This is San Antonio, it's local news. And you can see actually, if you go in closer, this guy got knocked in the eye. And they got a better picture of it, but this is just a screenshot. Got knocked in the eye. And so, for everybody out there who's like, oh, reefer, for the hippie mindset, who's like, oh, reefer, it always led to good times and good feelings and good vibes and stuff, and it should be everywhere and stuff. Everybody should smoke it. Absolutely not, all right? And I'm not here to tell you what to do or anything like that, but I'm just saying absolutely not. Oh, good evening, Brenda. I forgot to say that to you. I appreciate you. That's our co-host. It's Brenda. And so after this, pretty much Brenda's going to have to carry the whole show, I'm pretty sure. All right? If not, we're just going to have a meltdown. So, Brenda, no pressure, but you're going to have to really get on your toes right now, all right? We need you. We need you right now. San Antonio man confesses, but like I said, not necessarily about this reefer. In fact, this reefer is supercharged these days anyways, from a science laboratory. Not necessarily, but I'm just saying the quality of it is dangerous, very dangerous, I would probably say. Anyways, it does lead to violence from time to time. Maybe not directly, but it sure doesn't reduce violence. I'm here to tell you, it does not reduce it, not one bit. All right. If anything, it might increase it a tiny bit to where you can't hardly tell, but it still increases it. All right. And the article actually went on to say, and you know what? Oh, gosh, this is meant to be a news blitz, all right? But there's stuff to be said about this guy in this article. He winds up to shoot his common law wife after that. He stabs this one guy because of the reefer, and then he shoots his common law wife after that. And then he winds up turning himself in. We're going to talk about that to no end after we finish this news blitz, right? Oh, but look, that's his face. He got knocked in the eye. That was part of, we can explain that eye, all right? We know where that eye came from. So, okay, Navy punishes sailors for MAGA-like patches. And you know what I found so interesting about this photo is it's like an awesome photo. Thank you, Washington Times. That is a priceless photo. That is a photo that is timeless and will live forever. Thank you, Washington Times. Washington Times. All right, but what I wanted to say is, man, it's so damn interesting is that Trump probably should sue Mad TV, because is that or is that not the Mad TV cartoon character? You know what I'm saying? So God is the ultimate comedian, and I'll just have you know, all right? Don't you dare argue that, Mad TV guy. This is what panic looks like. Sanders' team hits back after Wall Street criticism. What's interesting is when I first caught this particular news item, this is the first thing I saw. Bernie Sanders, and it was this. It said, "This is what panic looks like." And I thought it was interesting. I was like, that's real news. And then I scrolled down a little bit, and it says, "Oh, yeah, this is what Wall Street looks like when they're panicking." No, that's fake news. It's kind of interesting how I caught that. They went from real to fake. I mean, they should have just quit while they were ahead. California to move hundreds of inmates to largest death row. I thought that was interesting. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's none of my business what they're doing in California, and I'm sure it's going all willy-nilly anyways. So, like, far be it from me to say what they should do in California. I wish people in California would stop telling people to do what to do up in Texas. I wish they would. But I have no idea what's going on. I just thought that was interesting. But also, I did want to mention that it might have something to do indirectly with what we're going to dive into, in the near future, especially about death row or the prison system, and especially death row. being, it's like a satanic ritual, ceremonial gateway. What do you call it? A cathedral for it. I don't know. It's just like they're all been to the Satanism, and what they're doing. If you ever seen, like, for example, old movie a long time ago, Demolition Man, right, in which they were instilling criminals with all sort of, they're just making hardened criminals. They're taking average criminals and they were like making them into super criminals and releasing them onto the streets eventually. Yeah, something like that. That's something like what they're doing for real, in real life, but not like science fiction. Trump asked what he learned from impeachment trial. Response goes viral. And shoot, man, I wish we could pull that video up right now. In fact, if we get a request for it, we will pull it up. But Trump goes off on the NBC dude. He's like, the NBC dude came up and asked him, "Hey, do you feel ashamed and shouldn't you do stuff different?" And Trump was like, "Hell no, dude, you're fake news." And that's pretty much how it went down, dude. I mean, I couldn't even stand it. I couldn't even stand it. If I get a request for it, I'll pull up the video, but it's like, I'm pretty sure y'all seen that video. I couldn't even stand it. Or not San Antonio, SA coronavirus. I think it is San Antonio. Coronavirus patient being treated at Methodist Hospital, Texan officials said. And it's kind of interesting, it's just it's to show you it's a small world when you think about it. People going, "Oh, who knows what's happening in China?" I mean, come on, who knows? I don't know what's happening in China. I'm not going to tell you I do. But okay, it's a small world because you remember just the other day when I was having a kidney issue. I was having issues for days and stuff going in and out of the emergency room. I actually went to this sort of hospital. It's the same affiliation, but it's on the other side. They went this current coronavirus deal. It's being taken place at the northwest side Methodist Hospital, and I was actually at the northeast side because that's my part of town now. And so I was on the northeast, but it's a small world, man. Small world. That's where they have the coronavirus persons at. And I'll let you know this. I don't know about y'all out there. I don't know, because they say there's flu season. It's seasons where people get sick and stuff. I'm hearing about just different, various, random people coming down with like fever or like flu-like symptoms and stuff. And I'm not saying it's coronavirus. I mean, because it's like flu season and stuff, but it will add to the chaos and the commotion. Man, it's supposed to be a news blitz. I'm just saying, anybody out there, I don't know if y'all are getting coronavirus all around you. Parkland parents push for action in school shooting. That's the thing about it is that's where Parkland goes above and beyond. As far as incidents where people are very interested in investigating. In fact, we have some developments that I want to share forthwith with you actually, and we might do it actually right now before we forget. But Parkland parents, see, that's the problem, is that they keep talking. This guy actually went ahead and I saw the video, and to his credit, all right, I forgot the guy's name. I don't know who says it. Tony Montalto. To his credit, he didn't say anything that I disagreed with. And I'm not gonna pretend that he did. He didn't say anything. In fact, I dare say he didn't say much at all. It's not to say that he doesn't have plans in his a commission or whatever he's involved with to make schools safer, because that's what he came on to talk about, making schools safer. He said, "We got to make schools safer, y'all. We got to do what it takes to make schools safer." And he's talking about it a little bit in vague kind of like details. So I don't know what he's up to, but he didn't say anything I disagree with. All right, yeah, make schools safer. All right, I agree, totally agree. But there is no but, actually. There is no but. But if there was one, I just, with the caveat, don't talk about guns and stuff, man. Stop talking about this and that gun, because none of it makes sense. It never did make sense. And you keep talking about it. And if I'm not saying he's talking about it, all right? God bless this man, and God bless everybody else. God bless all the anti-gun people who keep talking about guns. I love everybody. But so stop talking about the gun thing, and you keep talking about it. And what's more worse, obviously, and everybody understands, who even remembers David Hogg, is David Hogg. He's much worse. He's worse. He's absolutely worse, and he won't go away. He won't stop saying things that don't make no sense. All right, nobody cares what you're saying, and you're not attractive, so the girls don't like you. right? And so like you're not popular on any sort of basis, and people keep shoving them down the throat and saying talking this and that about guns, and none of it makes sense. It never did make sense. And ultimately, it's ultimately targeting the most vulnerable, right? And he's continuing to do it. And it's not like nobody's ever told him, hey, David Hogg, all your ideas target and make vulnerable the most vulnerable around us, all right? And you make it to where it's extremely dangerous for them. But, anyways, I don't want to get carried off on a tangent with that because most people around here remember the name David Hogg, right? And there's definitely things that we're going to share about him in the near future because I feel him getting all hyped up. You know what I'm saying? I can feel him starting to get gassed up. Sometimes he goes under the radar. Sometimes he comes back on full force on Twitter. All right, with his damn shenanigans. And then we had to hear about it, not because we're on Twitter checking for it. You know, sometimes it's long periods of times which I don't even remember to check David Hogg's Twitter, right? I don't remember he exists until he pops his face back up, right? And I love David Hogg. I don't want to just... Anybody out there saying I hate David Hogg or that I would say have some hateful things to him to say, I don't. He's a damn liar, though. He lies at incredible lengths, and I wish he would get justice on his head just like I would get justice on my head for all the different times maybe I lied, all right? He's lying about something very serious. And, oh, you know what? Thing is, the reason why I came to YouTube is this. I want to check this out. It's a subscription that should just pop right up. In fact, it did, all right? Because I want to show you this. And you know, we kind of got far into the broadcast, but shout out if anybody hears me, I'm gonna holler at Joseph Cowan. I'm hollering at him right now, but I'm gonna holler at him right now. Holler at anybody who was interested in that whole Parkland thing. Right? Some interesting new developments that I came across. This guy, he actually has a pretty good subscribership. I had to turn my phone sideways in order to see how many people are subscribed to him, but it's a lot. Right? Go to home. 2.9 thousand subscribers, and in this world that's kind of a lot. That really is kind of notable. And so check this out. This is what popped up to me, all right? And I found this last night. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas animation. And well, let's just get a taste of it, and then I want to show you the rest of this here channel that he's got going, and I want to explain to you how it's crucial.
Nicholas Cruz, referred to as the shooter hereafter, enters Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Upon entry, he meets...
Hey, I just want to stop real quick and say, it's kind of uncanny, but the person speaking on the video is not Nicholas Cruz. Sounds exactly like Nicholas Cruz. It's kind of eerie. I don't know if he even knows that, but he sounds exactly like Nicholas Cruz. And anyways, no, it's a different person. It's the guy who runs the channel.
Immediately turns into a stairwell. He is equipped with a Smith & Wesson M&P 15, as well as hundreds of rounds of ammunition, all stored in a rifle case. As the shooter puts on a vest containing his ammunition, he encounters student Chris McKenna, who he tells to leave. McKenna runs out of the stairwell through the side door. The shooter exits the stairwell and raises his rifle, but the rifle does...
All right, I want to stop it right there and just remind everybody, it's my theory that McKenna could have saved everybody's life on that day. I'm not saying he's a criminal. I'm saying it's my theory, and it's quite clear that Chris McKenna had the opportunity, a clear opportunity, to save everybody's life that day, and he did not. All right, there's all sort of things we could talk about, of course, and we've talked about them a long time ago. Years ago we have. Right? We're still talking about Parkland for some reason.
He then briefly lowers the weapon to inspect it. The shooter raises his rifle again and fires as students are in the hallway. The shooter kills Martin Duque, Luke Hoyer, and Gina Montalto, who are outside of room 1215, and injures Ashley Baez, who runs to the alcove of the women's restroom. The fire alarm is activated throughout the campus due to dust falling from the ceiling tiles. The shooter moves to the alcove of room 1216 and fires through the window of the door. At the same time as the shooting stops, Baez runs from the alcove of the women's restroom to room 1210. The shooter then moves to the alcove of room...
Alright, so I want to give you a taste of it. And of course, you can see the whole video if you go to this thing. And I'm trying to leave links and shout out, but it's called Sarin Gas. We're going to go back to it. Sarin Gas something. Sarin Gas animation, something or other. Here, we're going to go back to it. Check it out. But that was a taste of it. Alright, that's a little bit of a taste. Sarin Gas Attack, if you can find it on YouTube. through that way. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas animation is the most recent one. That's how you can find it. All right. And what you're seeing right there is 100% undeniable proof that when you crowdsource these sort of investigations, it's the way of the future as far as high profile murders and stuff like this, and even low profile murders. And we can go down to the nitty gritty. We can go down to individuals. But if when you crowdsource for investigation, you get the best product. That's free market. You're gonna get the best product. Period. If you remember the animations from the other Parkland animations from way back, they were absolute. Oh man, I just want to say every curse word. They were absolute dog mess, stupid, disgusting, poor pieces of evidence, quote unquote evidence that they were giving us. And they were just like, oh, don't y'all see this is exactly what happened, this animation. And it was shameful at very least. It was actually criminal, to be honest. It's actually criminal. But this young man right here conducting this channel has put together already this thing that just far surpasses any of the BS animations we were given, in which he's actually putting out details. We got clear color coded, everything's very nice, and you could tell, you could differentiate all sort of different things. The kid shot, he's saying the names of people, the individual people, all sort of details. He's putting out all sort of details in which anybody could do if they just took a lot of time. Honestly, it'll take a lot of time to sit through all these details and put them together and find out what's real and what's not real, or what's more likely, and put them all together in an animation. That takes a lot of skill and a lot of dedication. All right, so shout out to Saren Gas Attack up on YouTube. He's already popular, but dang, he should get more popular because he's world class. But it's an example of how we'll always do a better job. We'll always do a better job, and we'll always get it done faster and better than the current system that we have right now. So as time goes on, whether they know it or not, the people involved in the current system, because they're going to cling tightly to their methods, right? They're very exclusive. They don't want anybody to know about anything, and half of everything is a secret, according to the official system we got right now. So, and on the other end, on this, what we're inventing right now, is complete transparency, and everybody has full access to the details. And in fact, more emphasis on due process, and instead of smearing people in the news, and even though, what I'm saying, they haven't been proven guilty for anything, right? So what we have is an ass backwards system, completely and utterly right now. But we still understand the concept of due process, so we can still implement it and do it the correct way. So I wanted to give you a taste of that, and then just take a look through his channel. Sandy Hook Animation, if you're interested in that. Columbine Animation, remastered. And then if you go through it, you'll notice that there's different versions. Version 6, version 5, version 4.5, version 4, version 3. For some of the people out there who might not be so experienced in this sort of thing, you might be like, well, why is there all these different versions? Well, what this guy is doing is he came out with the first version, right? And then he comes out with another version when he gets more details. See, like, people will come at him through the comments and say, hey, oh, you forgot this. Oh, this and that. You include this. And he thinks about it, and then he includes that, and he makes a second version, and he puts that out, and then more people see it, and they're like, oh, you know what? What if you include these details and this and that? And it just evolves. And it evolves. And it's a constant evolution until you got like just. And on his Combine thing, I checked that out actually earlier. I forget which one, his most recent one. I want to say I checked out this one. All right, Columbine Animation Remastered. And I gotta say, I don't know if we have time for it right now, or if you'd want to see that right now. Honestly, I don't know if we have time for it, but I was looking at it earlier. And I gotta say about the Columbine animation is just what's notable about the Columbine animation, because I wasn't so familiar with all the inner workings, what actually took place at Columbine. I heard about this and that, about guns and bombs and stuff, but I didn't know exactly what was taking place. Second by second, play by play. And this animation was very revealing to me. It's like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff to think about. I mean, they did a lot of traveling for number one. You know, to contrast it from Parkland stuff, Nicholas Cruz allegedly only went up in one building and he kind of did this and that and circled around, but he didn't go very many places, right? As far as Columbine, it's like they were here, there, and everywhere, man. They were just scrambling and rambling and bumbling and fumbling. And it's kind of interesting. And there's so many witnesses. I gotta say, Columbine, Columbine, in a sense, I don't know how to even put it, but it seems more genuine in a sense. And I know there's a lot of people who would argue with me on that point, but it seems a little bit more genuine in that. Gosh, man, it seems like all these witnesses and all this and that. It's kind of hard to negate the brutal nature of what's being described in Parkland. It's silly. Like in Parkland, mind you, let's say everybody's telling the truth in Parkland, it still sounds silly. It still sounds like y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like y'all don't even realize the laws of physics or anything in Parkland. Right? In Columbine, it seems a little bit different. But anyways, like I was saying, you can check out some of his new animations, and people are giving responses to those. And mind you, there's going to be updates, and there's going to be new versions, and it's only going to get better and in more detail, and it's going to prove, like I said, all right, that injustice is being had all over the place. Anyways, just feel free to, let me know what's happening up in your neck of the woods. All right, we already got kind of carried away. I would say we got a good 30 minutes and stuff to go strong. I don't know if we're going to continue the whole screenshots thing. Let me check out and see how many more screenshots we had, actually. Not many. So we could just go through the rest of them. All right, so real quick. Why people are angry at Rage Against the Machine, all right? Probably because they're charging hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I don't know how many Rage fans there were out there. I was a Rage fan. Not to say I bought any of their albums, but I like their music. And people in San Antonio, generally speaking, liked Rage Against the Machine when they came out. I've grown very tired of listening to them and their opinions. And, that's just honestly, they got some opinions, God bless them. But they also, I don't know, they're in some scandalous nature as of recently. And a lot of people are actually talking about it. We're not going to go into it too much. But father uses machete attack on daughters in Broward. Hey, Broward is wild and stuff. I don't think you have to worry about school bullying necessarily, but you do have to worry about animalistic behavior taking place inside the school, perhaps, or more than likely inside the home, in which, I don't know. I might check this out, right? Man. Okay, we'll get back to it in a second. We might check this out in a second before we get out of here because it's so sensational. All right, how he attacks him. Does he kill him? It doesn't say killed him, so he attacks him with a machete over there in South Florida. You don't have to worry about school bullying necessarily, although, it's wild. 2 years after Parkland, oh man, we're still talking about it. See, I mean, it's a constant flow of it, and I wouldn't hardly bring it up if it wasn't brought up so much. On a national basis, on a worldwide basis, the Hill, obviously so illegitimate, but they get around. 2 years after Parkland shooting, NRA no longer runs the show. Runs what show? I don't know, man. They're just talking some mess. It's like, dude, these people are just battling this organization to no end. Like, they're bitter enemies and stuff. It's like, dude, seems a little bit uncalled for. Man, I put this actual screenshot up right before the broadcast. All right, and it's actually a little story behind it, and it's a very quick story. All right, but I wanted to share it with y'all. It said Trump opens national monument land to energy exploration. We've talked about this sort of thing a number of times. Of course, I don't know how many videos I've made, so it's hard to find. But so just to bring it back up again. Trump opens national monument land to energy exploration. And that's fairly new developments, right? So I was at work, let's say. I was at work, and I was talking with a fella, and I just want to give you an example. It's kind of a short anecdote, but I was talking to a fella, and he leans more Democrat, and that's fine with me and stuff, so I was talking about it. And in fact, I think he might have brought it up. And so we were talking about the Democratic candidates, right? And it's just we were talking about how silly it was, Biden in a nursing home. I mean, he's really stumbling and mumbling and this and that. It's like who's the X factor? I expected him to say Bernie Sanders, and he is a Bernie Sanders fan. This guy who I'm talking about. And he said, yeah, it's Bernie Sanders, but dang, dude, he's old and stuff, and like he might very well die at any moment. So this is a Bernie Sanders fan telling me this. I was like, that's right. Chances, there's a good chance that he might die, keel over at any moment. But even still, I think he's the number one, and I still do, and I'm here to say it right now. He's number one in the Democratic, and it's not because I agree with him on anything, because I don't. And I don't agree with him on anything, dude. Viscerally, I just am annoyed by his presence. All right, but I love him. I love Bernie Sanders. And anyways, we were talking about that. A side guy comes in, a C. We were having an AB conversation. C comes in, and he's like, "Oh yeah, but what do you hear about Donald Trump? Did you hear he wants to?" Use up all the national reserves and stuff and or whatever. And he just said that. He said something like, because he just saw this headline. I'm sure he saw this headline. He's like, oh, but did you hear Trump? He wanted to open all these lands up and ruin the environment over there in Utah. And he wanted to, and I was like, what? And so he said, he basically clarified what he was talking about. And so, the Bernie Sanders fan who was there, he was like, oh man, yeah, of course Trump would do that. And I immediately interjected and said, yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Like, that's an awesome idea. I wish they would do that. And they looked at me like a cold, dead Nazi, right? And they were like, what? What did you say? You should do stuff in Utah to get gas? Because that's what he said. They're like, oh, he's gonna mine for all this gas up in Utah, and they're gonna destroy all this land in Utah. And I was like, yeah, that's an awesome idea. I love that idea. And he's like, oh, you're a Nazi. And he looked at me. He was like, fuck you, bro. He was like, that's. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have cussed, but that's exactly what he said. He was like, F you, bro. You don't care about the environment, and this and that. It's like I don't have all day to tell this story. But like I told him, I was like, if anybody cares about the environment around here, obviously it would be a farmer. And obviously I've been in and out of the farming world for years now, and I love gardening and stuff like this. You'd imagine that I care about the environment. I put that together. He's like, and it kind of gives you an example of how people get so most people cannot debate. Most people in the world cannot debate, don't have the skills for it. And so they get emotional about what it is they're talking about, but they can't debate. They can't drive a point home. So at that point, he's like, you don't farm, you don't know how, you don't do this and that. It's like, oh, okay, all right. I don't have proof. Like, I don't want to have to pull produce out of my pockets, like, to prove to anybody that I like the environment. But at the end of the day, it was this. I went ahead and briefly explained to him, although it fell on deaf ears, and I knew it was, but I just wanted to put it out in there. I was like, dude, people have been running scams on people like us for a long, long time now. In fact, they've been these so-called environmentalists. What they'll do is they'll lobby through the government, and I'm talking about big corporations and lobbyists. They'll lobby the government and get all this environmental protection on a certain kind of land, on acres, hundreds, thousands of acres. Get this environmental protection so nobody messes it up, i.e. they can't use it. Nobody can use it. If you're a human being, you can't use it. It is unusable by you. Except if you're in the government, you can do whatever the hell you want to do with it in the meantime. All right? And maybe you won't do anything with it in the meantime, but if you're in the government, say you're a government representative, what you'll do is you'll sit on it, and then later on you'll sell it out the back door for pennies on the dollar to your good buddies, and they'll do whatever the hell they want with it to make like all sort of who knows, housing complexes or this and that, and charge people at top rates and stuff like that, just making up money hand over fist. That's been the scheme. Or you're gonna give it to the dang Chinese, and they're gonna use it for their solar farms or some sort of stuff. You're gonna pretend it's about the turtles. This guy who got emotional, he was like, what about the Indian burial grounds? And it always comes to that sort of stuff. The Indian burial grounds up in Utah. First of all, this article is talking about damn near 1 million acres. Damn near 1 million. Oh, you're here telling me that they have 1 million acres worth of Indian burial grounds up in Utah, right? And why we should give a dang about it on 1 million acres, right? None of it makes any sense. Poor excuses for all of it. Meanwhile, like I said, that's been the whole deal. It's been a scheme on us in order to make sure we can't utilize land. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, he's kind of going the other way, and he's like saying, hey, why don't we open this up? Why don't we get some oil or something like that? Why don't we get that money all hard? And the thing is, the guy who got emotional in the debate, if you will, he's like, yeah, man, you would ask Donald Trump's D right now. He's like, because that's what all they had is childish stuff. And I was like, dude, you're being childish and emotional. And he's like, you'd ask Donald Trump's D right now. You'd do anything he'd say just because he would say it. So just because he would say it, you would do that whole Utah thing. No, I've been saying this since Barack Obama. I've been saying this for a long time. They're running schemes on us. And meanwhile, we need to get that money. Meanwhile, the environment is all right. The world is not burning over. Meanwhile, let's get that money. That way we have prosperity. And once we have prosperity, we can step back and think to ourselves about all the different various things we can do with the environment. Quite simply, if you're over in Africa or if you're in certain places in Asia, you're not going to be an environmentalist. You know why? Because you're dirt damn poor. You're in desperate poverty. All right. The last thing you're concerned about is the environment, i.e., why people had to wear masks just to walk around China. All right. Case in point. And the thing is, so let's get that money. That's been my whole point. And if we get enough money, hey, we might get some of that free energy. We might figure out different various, quote, green energies to do all day. If we just have prosperity, you gotta have the prosperity first, right? It is a sequence to things. And that's what I was explaining. By the way, I love the environment and stuff like that. All right. Let's go ahead and get that money. And there's a couple things that we wanted to take a note on. Of course, there's that San Antonio news that we shared earlier, and that was rather violent. But I don't know if we can find that South Florida news. Look, let's see if we could type it in on YouTube, because that was breaking. What if we type in Florida what is it, PLG? WPLG Florida, machete, father, daughters. That sounds wild, but we should go ahead and check that out because it sounds too wild. I don't want to miss it. I don't know if it's WPLG, WLPG. Get rid of that. Hold on 1 second. And it's in my subscriptions, but I get so many videos every day. It's like overwhelming. All right, we better go ahead and find it. Oh wait, no, I think we just saw it. How do I go back? How do I go back? Florida. Okay. Machete father. I think I just popped up at the end. Right here, right before I left. Oh, I think I just saw it. Ratchet teens. Master. No. Woman says as father attacks her father attacks her with machete. What? That was 10 months ago. What the hell? What? Oh man, that was... And it only has 918 views. Master, no. Woman says her father attacks her with a machete. And you can only imagine, oh man, we'll play that video too, but I could have sworn, okay, police. Father attacks daughters with machete. This is the same area. I don't know if you're seeing a theme building here, but we might want to look into it. This is breaking news. I had no idea about this, but let's see from 10 months ago what this whole incident was concerning machete.
But tonight, we begin with the arrest of the man accused in the grisly murders of his wife and young daughter.
He was finally caught after nearly 3 days on the run, and today he went before a judge. Let's get right to Local 10 News reporter Terrell Fournay. He's live with our top story. Terrell.
2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted first-degree murder with a deadly weapon. Those are the official charges against this murder suspect, and his alleged actions appear to rock even a seasoned judge inside the courtroom.
These are pretty truly horrific facts.
Noel Chambers has been denied bond, accused of murdering his wife, 48-year-old Lorice Harris, and their 10-year-old daughter, Shayla Chambers. both with a machete. The two were found dead Saturday night in the Miami Gardens apartment the family shared. It was Larissa's birthday. We've learned at least 2 witnesses who are neighbors heard the screams and say they saw Chambers with the machete.
She's happy, you know, she's doing really, really good. Like, she's really healing.
The family has since set up a GoFundMe page to help pay for costly burial expenses for that mom and daughter.
Dang, y'all, let me just say, I want to stop it real quick because I don't know if it was buffering out there, if y'all were experiencing any buffering, but it was giving me the idea that it was going to start buffering. Right? And we got to feel, I mean, there's more to this video. It's a whole another minute. But wow, that's grisly. Like, things like that, people don't even understand who are concerned. That's why it's like some people live in a fantasy world where gun violence is a thing, it's an actual term in which they need to be afraid of it. Meanwhile, this kind of grisly stuff taking place in South Florida on a regular basis, I guess, like, you know, at you know, kind of an interval of, I guess, at least a few months apart. But that was grisly right there. That was grisly. That's 100% undeniable proof that the last thing you need to be worried about is school bullying, all right? In fact, take your children out to school because it's hell up in there, all right? But at the same time, still don't even be worried because it's like, you know, it's like putting a Band-Aid on cancer when you're thinking about it. When you're thinking about that sort of stuff, that's what you're doing. All right, and I know nobody is out here who's doing it, who's on the live stream. I know nobody, but I'm just saying those people out there, they're trying to put a Band-Aid on cancer. All right, this wild stuff takes place up in Florida. All right, and this wild stuff takes place. It don't matter where you're at, all over the dang world, but especially in Florida. That's what I want to point out. It's a wild place. But let's go ahead and get some of that recent news. All right, to see if it. If it could get more wild and see if we see like a trend building up. Master no. In fact, that didn't come up. I don't remember them saying that. That was probably on the latter half of this video, the master no. I think we'd be remiss to not try it. I don't know if it was buffering out there. If it is buffering out there, if y'all could please let me know and stuff like but it's only 1 more minute and they didn't address the whole master no thing. And I think that's going to be a crucial detail.
Right. That's correct. This is not a 315, but have them come ASAP, multiple units.
These photos were snapped of officers on the scene right after Chambers was taken into custody. He was booked into jail Tuesday night. In the arrest warrant, a witness told cops she saw the victim's father, Noel Chambers, standing by her, holding a machete in an upward position. That witness heard the surviving victim begging and saying what she understood as "Master no, no master don't."
Stay away from the victim. That's it. No bond.
Says stay away from the victim. That's it. No bond. Of course, stay away from the victim. Shouldn't he be in prison? She just said no bond. What the hell? Okay. Is she gonna be up in the prison? Wow, that's a wild thing. That's a wild thing, right? I don't know what to see. I'm not gonna say, oh, you guys, my theory is this guy's Islamic or whatever. Right? I know a lot of people were itching and scratching for me to say that, right? I don't know if he was Islamic, right? But it's kind of reminiscent, and I would be a little bit fake news if I didn't say it's kind of, when you say master no, what's the first thing that pops up into people's brains? Is it Islamic terrorism? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything. Everything's alleged. I don't know if he's been found guilty or anything since then. But let's go to that new step.
New details about a violent attack involving 2 children. Chopper 4 over the scene where police say the kids were stabbed with a machete by the father of one of the children. Investigators say those girls, ages 10 and 17, survived and are now in intensive care.
CBS 4's Carrie Cott is outside the home where the attack unfolded with the latest for us. Carrie.
That's right. This home is actually just west of State Road 7, just north of Sunrise Boulevard. And this attack happened around 10 o'clock this morning. Investigators say the suspect in the attack, the father of one of those girls, came to the home this morning to watch those two girls, as well as another of his young children, when some sort of altercation led to this violence. Family members were overcome with grief after Lauderhill police say a man attacked a 17-year-old girl and a 10-year-old girl inside this Lauderhill home Monday.
Chopping up females.
When police arrived, they found two girls with injuries. Police say the suspect, named Dennis Reed, used this machete to attack the girl. Paramedics rushed them to the hospital in serious condition. The news came as a shock to Kamar Downing, who's the uncle of the 17-year-old victim. Downing said the victim's mother called him.
I'm buffering, right? And I want to make sure we get this all in. Wow, this is wild. This one's people. It's like one of those things. Like we should just sit here in shock and awe. You should just sit here for a while, and I mean, because this is wild, right? This kind of stuff that they bring up on the news, but no, it's not a national issue. This is not a point of concern. Oh no, we should just be talking this and that about the impeachment all day, and for that matter, the coronavirus, right? Which does seem to be, it's always on our minds and stuff. It's interesting to note and stuff, but it's not necessarily so pressing as this. What's happening, like especially if you're in America. It's up in your backyard, but not only that, if you're anywhere on the world, stuff like this kind of happens. Now, all this, what we saw right here on this this most recent video, it's alleged, all right, and it's none of my business necessarily, all right. And I feel like the guilty parties in this scenario are going to be brought to justice up in the criminal justice system. That's what it's for. And that's what I would hope would happen, right? That being said, they brought this out here. And we can't help but speculate it. And it is pure speculation, what I'm saying right here. It has no basis in fact, but I will see as time, only time will tell. Here's the thing. Here's what I want to press upon people. Hypothetically, in a situation where you got a guy and he's willing to machete attack his daughter and some other person's daughter, right? He's willing to do that. You gotta really think to yourself, what else would he be willing to do, right? Pretty much anything under the sun, right? To include sexual abuse, right? To include, and especially probably, here's the thing about it, I want you to think about this, all right? As a person, have you ever experienced in your childhood, not even like, let's say, I mean, there's a lot of people who get this, that, and the third, molested, right? And there's some people who suffer traumatic experiences in which, they weren't even ready for that as a child and stuff, and that had a weird impression on them and stuff like that. Just, being infringed upon as a child. And if it hasn't happened to you, and like I said, believe me or not, as far as I know, hasn't happened to me, as far as I can remember. All right, there's various details as far as what we do to babies' wieners that we might go into, because that's the thing. A lot of people debate that as far as circumcision, right? And I'm not going to tell you which way, all right? So that's secret, but I'm just saying people talk about that, all right? People talk about that. But other than things like that, going to the doctor, other than things like that, it's just not happened to me, all right? As far as I can remember, maybe I'm blacking it out, but I do know all sort of people who it has happened to. It has hit me close to home in that way. And there's some people who claim it, and I don't know their stories, but there's some people who, very personal to me, hits very close to home. You're probably the same way, all right? That's what I kind of find out, and I find that out more and more as I grow older. You're probably the same way in that if it hasn't happened to you, you know somebody, it's impacted your life in a serious way, all right? You might think, oh, how does he know this? Like, how did he know that was the case? I know because what I'm realizing is that is what's the case for most people. Or for the majority of people, be it 51% of people, it's the majority. And so when you think about that and the possibilities and the numbers of that, you realize, well, it must be in staggering numbers. It must be in numbers that we couldn't imagine previously. Yeah, I think so. I think it is. I think it is. And if it is in such staggering numbers and we're being lied to it, well, who's lying to us about it? And what are the methods that they don't wish us to carry out because, it's going to put a little damper on their whole party that they got going that involves this, that is centered around things like this. All right, it's actually rampant, and that, yeah, maybe the tippy tops of the echelon get away with it. The tippy top echelons of the Jeff Epsteins and the Ghislaine Maxwell's, if I remember correctly, she's roaming around free. And who's to say about Jeffrey Epstein, anyways? Yeah, there's that, but it goes rampant. It goes very deep. And yeah, this isn't like a topic for children, but it is a topic about saving children. In fact, that is the most number one concern, period. There is no other concern. As far as your global warming, just to bring it up, people talking about the global warming and this and that, it's like, no, we got a serious problem. And this problem sometimes, as we unwind, this problem sometimes ends up in machete attacks and everything else. Just like any other problem, the only way to really combat it is to stare it dead in the face and say where we're going to go from here, right? And I feel like obviously that's what we have in store for the future. That's what people are starting to harness in on right now, and more in the near future, like people, it's going to exponentially become an issue. We're having an issue here. While people run around like Nancy Pelosi ripping up State of the Union addresses, right? And we could talk about that at no end. No, actually bad stuff's happening. But good stuff's happening as well, all right? All over the place. Like we were mentioning earlier, golden age of music is yet to come, right? And all sort of good things. It's hard to say, but I tend to think there's a balance, right? And that there's no reason to panic. All right, and we're going to wind it down right here tonight. But before we do, I do want to shout out to Nick Fuentes. A lot of people don't know who he is, but he is very popular, I got to say, especially amongst the youth who we were talking about just now. He is very popular. You got to ask yourself why, right? Because people are tired of these damn rules, right? We want to say words, and if you don't like the words, then go somewhere else, dude, and we're tired of you. And most of the time, we're polite as hell. And stuff like this. And, Nick Fuentes, his brand of humor, not for everybody, not for most people, I don't think. But still, haven't experienced it for a little while, and I'm going to find out where he's at now. It don't even matter that you banned him off of YouTube today. But, okay, like the thing is, I'm going to find him out still. And the thing is, Nick Fuentes, for all the crazy, wild things that he said, is a very polite, very well-mannered young man, to be honest with you. Very articulate. In fact, I look up, honestly, to the rate at which he can talk and express thoughts and keep them going on. It's actually pretty damn impressive. And just saying all sort of stuff, putting America first, being kind of brash, not holding back, just saying this and that, not wishing harm on anybody, and yet still gets deleted off of YouTube. Oh, he might have said a bad word. So shout out to the man Nick Fuentes, and we should have a whole episode dedicated. Although, I don't agree with everything he says, and that should be a caveat for every single person you ever talk about. You're not going to agree with everything they say. And so I don't agree with everything he says, and, obviously, but I do agree with a lot of it. And it's the way of the future. And YouTube is further making an embarrassment out of themselves. Meanwhile, we're on YouTube just because we're lazy. If it was just as easy to go on another platform, I would so eagerly go on there. And in fact, it's becoming easier and easier every day. So, you know what's the deal. Meanwhile, also, while we're getting out of here, I want to get out of here, get a little bit of time to get ready to go make that money, all right? Because that is important. But shout out to a gentleman who I heard about just recently, actually, and we can go to it right now. In fact, I think we'd be a little bit, it wouldn't be right if we didn't. Check this out. It's a story that I heard about last night. And I believe the man's name was Alonzo. But I don't even know if we had to know his name necessarily. I'm going to type in Reagan. I believe that's how you spell it. Reagan High School. And who's to say whether or not this stuff would get us kicked off of YouTube if YouTube even knew that we were talking about it. Actually, to be more specific, we're going to have to type in suicide. That'll probably take us right to it. Right? And like I said, it's a balance. It's also the wild things happening. It's also the people who are in desperation and stuff. And we, for the most part, know what they're going through. It's terrible. It's terrible. Some people feel alone sometimes, and so at least things is kind of crazy. But if we go to the news section, all right, school district raises awareness about mental health after students' suicide. Suspects in fatal East Side shootout indicated on Capitol murder. That's another different thing. That's just a different thing. But of course, San Antonio is going to have a lot of that. Not a lot of it, but our fair share of it. I'm here to tell you. But no, I was just trying to find out what they were talking about at the beginning. See, awareness about mental health after student suicide. They were talking about it. I don't know how much detail they're going to get into, but it was in Reagan High School, which is not too far away from here, I guess, probably. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's in this general area of town. Reagan High School, on the campus. Ronald Reagan High School is somber after the death of high school student who was found unconscious on the school's weight room. That's what's interesting. It's like in school, on the campus, in the weight room. I was like, found unconscious? What the heck? So let's read a little bit about it as we get the heck up out of here. It's just a microcosm. But today has been obviously very difficult, said Aubrey Chancellor, Executive Director of Communications for Northeast ISD. It has been difficult for the students and the staff, but they are putting on a brave face. School and district officials said they're heartbroken over Alonzo Jones, 16, died from what the Bexar County Medical Examiner has ruled as a suicide. We have 2 rooms just filled with counselors available to anyone who needs to speak, Chancellor said. We have brought in other counselors as well from some of our other schools, as well as an outside agency. So all sort of counselors, basically. It's not a big article, so let's go ahead and see what it is. Chancellor said that the district takes matters like this very seriously, which is why officials prepare as much as possible. All of our employees receive annual mental health training. It's just so boring. I'm done with this article. Nothing much is going to be done necessarily about this, but definitely the problem is a sincere, serious problem. In a systematic sense, it's very much ingrained in the system at which we are currently doing, say, schools. The school didn't necessarily help in this situation. At the end of the day, the school wasn't saving nobody at the end of the day, right? And maybe they'll start. Maybe they'll start now. I don't invest much in it, but even more so, that's a side note, because whatever is happening in this child's personal life, to include and especially his home, is what led to this incident. And it's an incident you're going to see more and more. And you're going to see it more and more. And it's going to be trending up and stuff. And it's, going to be a disillusioning to an extent. And it's worth bringing up. It's worth bringing up just so that people understand what's the severity and what's really we should be talking about. In contrast to Parkland all day for no good reason. It kind of gets us a little bit more humble and brings us back down to earth. Like, wild things happen, right? And we got to think about this and be a part of the solution is what we got to do, especially me. All right? I haven't been doing that. I'm going to try my best because I understand what's the problem. Right? And I understand it's all sort of good things to be had on this earth. And we're going to talk about that too. In fact, I got a lot on the developments end of things, all right? Because it's spring here in San Antonio. I don't know about where you're at, but the weather is fantastic, all right? And it's full of growth and life and rebirth and everything else. I appreciate everybody out there, and I'll check y'all out next time. In fact, there's so much that we didn't get into today. I'm looking at it. I didn't even cover like half of the things that I had on the docket. It's like might be inspired if not to have my hands full to do a live stream tomorrow and stuff. And Lord knows we could do a live stream every single day and not run out of things, crucial things, right? But at the same time, we don't want to get all spent up upon the internet, right? It's like the Matrix, right? We're gonna take that red pill and swallow it, right? Anyways, I've been on here too long. I'll holler at y'all later. It's February the 14th, Valentine's Day. I hope y'all be my Valentine, and I appreciate y'all. I consider y'all to be my Valentine. I'll holler at y'all.